Hi, and welcome to the New Agent Mindset, where we talk about all things related to new real estate agents as far as the best advice, tips, tools, and strategies for you to be successful in this industry. And today I am excited to talk about one of the most searched terms, at least on Google anyways, when it comes to new real estate agents. I do a lot of keyword research so that I can provide relevant, valuable content for you, and one of the search terms that comes up pretty frequently that I recently saw was new real estate agent salary. So as you can imagine, this is going to be somewhat of a tricky discussion because every real estate agent is different. Some might start out really strong. Somebody might be in a market where the average median home price is $150,000 versus an average median home price of, $500,000. So there's a lot of variables to play in here, but I decided to do this completely, strictly off of my own experience so far, and it's pretty humbling to do this. Definitely feels pretty vulnerable to put this information out there. But at the same time, I'm trying to provide you the best value, and so I want to be able to give you as much realistic, kind of real-world feedback from a new real estate agent. And with that said, let's go ahead and get started. So, I've been in real estate for about 8 months. I have made one sale, and the commission on that sale, by the way, this was the purchase of my own home where I represented myself and my wife. The commission on about a $200,000 home was $5,837. Now, that's the 3% commission, right? I had to pay $712 to GEPAR, which is Greater El Paso Association of Realtors, because as you know, we all have to be belong to the Association of Realtors, which allows me to do this next cost, which was about $280 to be able to participate and be active in our local MLS and gain access to Sentrilock, which is the way that we access homes here in our lock boxes, which brings me now to sub 5,000. $415 went to TREC, Texas Real Estate Commission, background check, fingerprints, applications, right? So this is our licensing commission. So in order to be legit, I had to pay that money. Now I'm down to $4,400. The first 5 months in real estate for me, I was with Keller Williams. All said, I was $330 in between the startup fee and I believe it was $45 a month. $45 a month. So that now takes me to about $4,100. 3 months ago, I switched from Keller Williams to EXP. I have paid Keller Williams $404 for initiation fee and $85 a month for the tech fee. Now I'm down to $3,700. I had to pay another $190 to GEPAR. About $95 are my quarterly fees, and so I recently paid third quarter and fourth quarter. So that is starting to definitely dwindle down that 5,000, right, that I started with, at 5,800. That put me down to 3,500, but this is a big one. You cannot forget to set aside taxes. So 20% of that $5,800 is about $1,100. If we take that off, right, that's going to put me now just at $2,337. If you divide $2,337 by 8 months, you're going to get the salary that I have made, the amount of money that I have made per month, which is an astounding $292.15 per month. So I made that $5,800 commission. The reason that I kept more of that is because Keller Williams, as most brokers, they allow you to not have to pay into your cap for a personal deal, at least one personal deal a year usually. So I actually made more on that commission because I didn't pay any of that aside from about $300 some as a, what did they call it, a royalty fee. So 8 months, one transaction, I made $5,837, but after you subtract all of those expenses that I paid and continue to pay, that got us down to $2,337 divided by 8 months, which is the exact time that I've been practicing, $292 a month. Now, there's a lot that could be said about that, right? One thing is, it's not a lot of money, right? So if you've been following this podcast or YouTube channel, you know I've mentioned this a number of times, but you know that the only reason that I can sustain myself in this business by only making that much money is because I'm fortunate enough to have a wife who has a solid salaried job, and her salary has been able to carry us through these 8 months, right? Now, if let's say that I were single, if I were single, it would be a much different story. If I were single, I would either have a part-time job or two, or I would have been hustling those 8 months in a much different way. I would have been doing a lot of cold calling, and I want to say door knocking, but again, because of COVID, the timing has made door knocking a little bit tricky. So, what have I been doing in those 8 months? You may be asking, and I will certainly tell you. I have not been cold calling. I feel like I am in a fortunate enough position where I don't have to necessarily do cold calling because of my wife's salary, and it's simply because I don't really want to do cold calling. I want to be successful in this business without having to cold call. Does it mean that I wouldn't do it if I wasn't married and had a wife that was essentially supporting me? Absolutely not. If the tables were turned and my financial situation was different, I would cold call. It's not that I'm chicken to do it, I just don't want to do it. But if I needed to make more money as a real estate agent, that is the number one thing that I would be doing. The next thing, what have I been doing? I would say, and this is again why I'm doing this real estate podcast and channel for you, I would say a lot of that time was spent spinning my wheels, trying to figure out what should I do, because I've had, as a new real estate agent, you have tons of people telling you what they think you ought to do. And that's great because you want people helping you and giving you advice, right? What I found was tricky is that there were so many options. It took me a long time to figure out which options were best suited for me, which options were best suited for a global pandemic, and which options were going to be the most productive and realistic for somebody like myself who was coming to a new city and didn't really have a big sphere of influence. So, one huge mistake, spinning my wheels and not centering in quick enough to what was going to be productive. Let me tell you some more mistakes that I've made in those 8 months. I've talked about this in the last episode when we talked about the sphere of influence. I should have spent those 8 months nurturing the small little sphere of influence that I had when I moved here, but growing that sphere of influence. If I would have nurtured and grown my sphere of influence the right way, I think I would have had more success. I know, like I said in that last story, I recently just reached out to a guy that I had lost touch with, and he was like, hey, big news, I sold my house and I moved, right? I could have been his realtor if I wouldn't have dropped off of the face of the planet there for a little while. So that's what I should have done. Nurtured and grown my sphere of influence. So, other mistakes. I'm going to talk about this in the next episode when I talk about my tips for beginners. But getting a routine, the way that you spend your time is everything, right? What you do with your time on a day-to-day basis is very, very important. And I wasted a lot of time chasing shiny objects that didn't pan out, and probably overthinking things that were never going to pan out to begin with just because I didn't know any better. So now, recently, I have got a laser focused routine and a schedule that I stick to Monday through Friday. I have pretty much it blocked out what I do from about 7:30 in the morning till about 5:30 in the evening, and I make sure that I get these things done. These are the things that I think are going to have the most meaningful impact on my business. But 8 months to get there, right? So those are just some of the mistakes. Now, you also might be asking yourself, all right, this guy just made $292 a month. That is pitiful. Why is he still in the business? And why does this guy have a smile on his face for the most part? And I'll tell you that. The reason that I feel pretty good now is because about a little more than 2 months ago, I started my YouTube channel again because of some of the mentors that I have had who have pushed this notion of a lighthouse strategy. And I started that YouTube channel two and a half months ago. I've put out one video a week. And since that moment, since the very day that I dropped the first video, God's honest truth, I have been hearing continuously from buyers who are relocating to El Paso. I've started showing properties. I have a very strong client pipeline of buyers who are relocating to El Paso. Now, some of this could be timing, because coronavirus has made it so that a lot of people can now work from home, can work remote, right? So I've had a lot of people who say, I've got a job, but now I can work from wherever, and I don't want to live in place X, city X, where the traffic is insane, the cost of living is unbelievable, and I don't really like it there that much anyway. I want to move to some place like El Paso that has a very low cost of living, super affordable, friendly, great schools, good climate, all of that. So coronavirus in some ways has helped. And then the other reason is that I'm also hearing from a lot of people who are fleeing these places that are literally burning up. I'm hearing from a lot of people from California. As you know, poor California they're dealing with all the fires, and it's not cheap to live in California. So there's kind of a migration from the west this way, right, to the east, and El Paso kind of fits nicely into that area. So I'm feeling actually great about my business because for the last 2 months, I routinely get tons of calls, emails, texts, comments on the channel, what have you. And now, finally, my business is getting going, which is why I'm sticking with it and why I'm feeling pretty confident. So, what could I have done differently to alter my real estate salary if I had a crystal ball and could have looked into the future, right? Well, my salary would have been different if I would have started that YouTube channel on day one. So, on day one, if I would have started the YouTube channel, those numbers would have been different. Dare I say, they might have even been somewhat impressive for a new real estate agent. But it took me 6 months to figure out what my niche was, what was going to work for me. It took me 6 months to 5 months to find my mentors and have the light bulb click on that this was going to be the strategy that was going to work for me, right? So 6 months of spinning my wheels, and you could fairly say that I didn't have that fire burning under my arse because I was able to rely on my wife's salary. But this is also why I've said many times that my biggest piece of advice for new real estate agents is to make sure you have at least 6 months of savings saved up to get you through your general living expenses if you're going to do this full time and not have a second job, or you don't say have a spouse that has a salary that's going to help you during this ramp up time. So that's really important. So that's my 2 cents. Another thing I would have done differently, aside from starting that YouTube channel, but I never would have. That wasn't even on my radar 8 months ago. The idea that a YouTube channel would generate real estate business, it just wasn't on my radar. But another thing that I would have done differently is I would have nurtured that sphere of influence and worked on growing that sphere of influence. That was a big misstep on my part. Now, of course, 8 months later, I know these things and I'm implementing them. I have a routine, a schedule that I think is effective and productive, and I hope to see that salary creep up. And I'll certainly let you know how my numbers play out to give you just at least one new real estate agent's kind of financial story through all of this. So I do hope that was helpful. When I was making the slides with all the numbers and everything, I'm fortunate that I can laugh about it, but it's a pretty sorry excuse for a salary. You'll probably agree. $292 a month. But at the same time, it's fair to say that this is one of the reasons why that dropout rate for new real estate agents, I'm going to say 85% of new real estate agents are out of the business within a couple of years. It's because it takes a while to figure it out. It takes a while to figure out what's going to work for you. I'm not an idiot. For most of you, you're not going to do a YouTube channel. I have the skill set and a bit of a tech background where I can pull off a YouTube channel. A lot of you don't have that background, you don't want to do it, and you wouldn't be consistent, which means it would fail and not work, right? I understand that what works for me isn't necessarily going to work for you. But you have to find what does work for you. And hopefully it doesn't take you 6 months like it took me, right? Hopefully you are a little bit quicker, you learn from the mistakes that other people are making, and you find the 1 or 2 focus areas that are going to work for you right off the bat. Chances are, dare I speculate, that one of them is nurturing and growing your sphere of influence. It's so important, right? But you're going to need to find what it is that's going to work for you. It could be cold calling. I talked to a real estate buddy today, and he's doing cold calling, and he's doing great, right? He's hustling and he's getting after it. But again, the reason why so many of these real estate agents fail is because it's tough. I don't want you to think that for the last 8 months or the last 6 months before I found this YouTube channel idea that I was just sitting around twiddling my thumbs, kicking back, working a couple hours here and there. I was working through this entire time. I've been very serious about my business, and I've been working, and I'm not an imbecile. I haven't wasted a ton of time. For the most part, I've been doing things that most normal people would be like, oh yeah, that makes sense that a new real estate agent would spend his or her time doing that. So I was working through all this time. It's just what I was doing didn't really bear any fruits, right? So I hope that was helpful. Like I said, those numbers are pretty sad, I know, but honestly, I wanted to be honest with you. I wanted to put it out there because for some of you, I think your numbers will be way better and you'll feel great about yourself, and that's awesome. Or for others of you that are maybe just thinking about that this is something you want to do, if you catch this video, you might have second thoughts and be like, you know what, that doesn't sound that great. And quite honestly, then it's probably not for you, okay? So it's a crazy business. I actually love it. I'm having a lot of fun now because I actually have clients. Now, if you would have talked to me 4 or 5 months ago, it would have been a different story, right? So I hope that has provided you some value. If it has, please give the video a like. If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. If you're listening to the podcast, fantastic. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I'd love to hear from you. Honestly, I would love to hear from some of the listeners. I know you're out there. reach out to me. Hit me on email at john@penaelpaso.com, P-E-N-A, or call me, text me, seriously, 915-355-3477. Tell me what you got. I'd love to hear your experience. Sometimes it helps just to vent to another agent. So if you need an ear, give me a call, shoot me a text. I'd love to talk to you. I hope you're doing well. And until next time, thank you so much.